Boston Celtics beat down the Miami Heat, maybe their best offensive performance of the year. And whatever Miami threw at them, Kristaps Porzingis was the answer. I'm going to talk about it all and more on this Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, Heat John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I got you covered every single day, Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts like Saturday night after the Celtics play the Clippers. I'll have a podcast for you after that because I podcast after every single game. So make sure you're subscribed. Watch the show on YouTube. Hop into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm pretty sure the comment section will be devoid of Miami Heat fans because after talking a lot of trash when the Terry Rozier trade came down and a lot of trash about my takes when it came to Terry Rozier, the Celtics went into Miami and decimated them, blew the doors off the Miami Heat, crushed them in every sense of the word. 143 points. So many points. To 110, which is also a lot of points, but not as many as 143. I'm John Karalis. For those of you who don't know me, I played a long time ago, and now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. So subscribe to my stuff over there, too. I had a big breakdown of Kristaps Porzingis and just how he was the answer to everything Miami threw at them. And that's going to be the first thing I talk about here. I'll get to a lot. There were a lot of big performances. You don't put up 143 points without a lot of big performances. I'll talk about those later and all that. But I'll just start with Kristaps Porzingis, who coming in, I wrote in my preview on Boston Sports Journal that he was the mismatch. And this is how he is on most nights. But you have to flow through them because their biggest guy is Adebayo. They don't have a ton of size. They're tough. Miami's a tough team. They, added Rozier. They're going to have to figure that out. Still very early in the process, so I'm not going to make a big deal. He had another bad game. He's debuted. He's played 2 games for Miami. He hasn't played well yet. So, but for the Miami fans who might be here, just know that I expect Terry Rozier to play better, and it's still a good trade. Side note. I can't believe how many Miami Heat fans got into the comments and were mad at me for saying it's a good trade. And there's the potential for it to end up being typical Miami stuff where they overperform whatever that trade is. And we might see them in the conference finals. Like that's some sort of insult to them. I don't know. Regardless, they threw everything at the Celtics. Miami did. And Porzingis was the answer. They started out with man-to-man coverage and just straight man-to-man. And because Porzingis was on the floor, Bam Adebayo couldn't help with protecting the rim. So straight man-to-man, because they are who they are, Porzingis was out on the perimeter. Adebayo had to worry about him. He really reacted strongly to Porzingis getting that 3-point shot. And that kind of set the tone. Celtics knew, all right, they are worried about Porzingis. It's kind of like throwing a receiver in motion in football. When they saw Adebayo's reaction, they go, oh, okay, gotcha. It told them a lot. And so right away, the next play, Jayson Tatum just goes at Hayward Highsmith and backs him down with no resistance. The Celtics were spaced well. They had Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, and Derek White. Brown and Derek White were in the corners. Holiday was above the break. Plenty of spacing. And Porzingis was at the top of the key. And Bam Adebayo didn't even bother to leave Porzingis. Didn't even bother to feign any help. So Tatum drove and, backed down Highsmith and got the foul. So that right away you're seeing, okay, they're worried about Porzingis. He's going to help space the floor. He's going to make these guys' lives easier. So then Miami throws a switching defense. They say, okay, well, we cannot have the Celtics, because Porzingis is on the floor, cannot let them drive like crazy. We got to start switching. And when they switched, Porzingis just took the smaller matchup into the post and scored. Right away, scored. Baby hook, boom. And he still had passing options all over the floor. They threw, the Celtics went double big. You throw Al Horford into the mix. Now you put Al Horford into the mix and you say, okay, Bam Adebayo, maybe Miami's going to count on Horford running out of gas, but he's not playing a ton of minutes. One of the unheralded, under-discussed elements of Porzingis being here in Boston and Horford having to come off the bench is that Horford's playing a fraction of the minutes that he was playing last year, right? He's playing, I think, 10 minutes less per game, somewhere between 7 and 10. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he's playing a lot less, which means he's going to have a lot more in the tank when the playoffs come around, which means probably, I'm assuming, that the shots won't stop falling for him. So this is something when it comes to like Miami or any other team that says, well, Horford has ran out of gas in the playoffs and the shots started to go away. If you want to help off of Horford this time around in the playoffs, do so at your own risk, because part of what the Celtics are doing with Porzingis and part of the minutes distribution because of Porzingis is Horford's not playing as much and he should be fresher. So anyway, Horford's on the floor and he still requires a lot of attention. So Jimmy Butler picked up Porzingis and he scored 2 straight baskets. Boom, boom. Jumpers over over Butler. They went zone and he got a wide open jumper. This is all in the first half. Wide open jumper in the middle of the paint that he just missed. That's a shot that the Celtics, if you sign them up and you say, every time Miami plays zone, you're going to get this Kristaps Porzingis jumper, a step in from the free throw line. They'll be like, yes, please. If that's how you're going to defend Porzingis, yes, please. And then they played the drop coverage, and he was wide open on the perimeter there. So by the half, we had man-to-man, we had switching, we had the drop coverage, we had zone, and then you had a double big that forced Miami to make a decision. I don't know, man. I'm not saying this Celtics game was a statement game because they won by 33 points. That's not the statement game, because that happens, right? The Celtics, you could say they made a statement against the Indiana Pacers and the Pacers came back and just fine. This is not a statement. You don't make statement games in January, right? The only statement you can make is with the type of things you do on the floor. And so this was a statement game in the sense of Eric Spoelstra. Here's you threw everything at the Celtics. Not everything, right? Spoelstra's a freaking genius. Like he's got plenty. I'm sure that he can kind of wrinkles that he can go to that he'll try when it matters. Like right now, he threw a lot at the Celtics, but the message is still clear. The statement is still made. You threw a ton at the Celtics, different kinds of man-to-man, zone, drop, everything you could. With Porzingis on the floor, he beat it all. So that's your challenge, Miami. That's your challenge, Eric Spoelstra. Miami has been fantastic at baiting Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown into situations where they've just been drawn into the teeth of the defense. Miami has been very good at defending those two guys, generally because they're creative, they understand tendencies, they understand what the options are on Boston, and they understand what Jaylen and Jayson are trying to do. And what they've done is work all of that to their favor. Now the Celtics got Porzingis. After losing to Miami, the Celtics went out and said, we can't do this again. We need a change. Brad Stevens went and got Kristaps Porzingis, specifically with Miami fresh in his mind. Now you see why. Now you see it. Everything Miami threw at Boston, Porzingis was the answer. That's my biggest takeaway from this game. Now, the Celtics offense was spectacular. I think this was their best shot generating game of the season. I'll explain why in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by our good friends over at eBay Motors. They've partnered up with Josh Lloyd, host of Locked On Fantasy Basketball, to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week. Whether you're prepping for the daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to give you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked. For this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week, we're starting out with John Konchar, a name that a lot of Celtics fans have brought up in trades, potential trades. With Grizzlies rotations up in the air, Konchar is getting minutes and producing at the moment. So this is probably why people have brought him up. Memphis is struggling, although they're okay. I'll just leave it at that. They're struggling. This season in general. Konchar is a guy that might be available. So right now, as a member of the Memphis Grizzlies, maybe worth a pickup. So Celtics fans who are looking at Konchar as a potential trade chip, this could work against you because Memphis could sit there and say, we're not actually blowing it up. We're not actually going to become sellers this year because you're getting you're getting Ja Morant back. You're getting Marcus Smart back. You're getting Desmond Bane back at some point to start like next season. So chalk up this season. Don't start trading away all these guys because you suck. Bring them back and maybe you give it a go next year. So for now, I think Konchar might be sticking with the Grizzlies, and this is why. Josh tells you why. Brandon Miller could see an uptick in usage with Terry Rozier gone. Jabari Walker has a fairly solid role for the rest of the season and can put up double-doubles. Patrick Williams with Zach LaVine out gets a minute in usage bump there, so maybe he's a guy that you pick up. And Nick Richards, because Mark Williams doesn't appear to be coming back anytime soon, Richards is going to have an extended run at center, putting up solid fantasy numbers in the process. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. It's the same with your car. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. So go put it on, leave it on, experience sports talk as it's meant to be, not the fake crap that's supposed to just entice you to call in or yell at the TV. Real sports talk, real stories. It's a lot of fun over there on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. This was an incredible offensive performance. The Celtics shot 63.7%, 55% from three. And I think this is their absolute best shot generation game of the season. What does that mean, John? Shot generation is creating opportunities, creating these good looks. You know what I'm talking about when I explain this. Celtics have had a lot of games, especially last season, not so much this season, mostly last season and before that, where they put up a ton of threes. And you're like, why did they shoot so many threes? Why did they settle for so many threes? And their answer was they were open looks. They were good looks. And I've probably talked about it a million times on this podcast. I've written about it, all that stuff, where yeah, technically they were good looks, but you didn't even probe the defense. You didn't work the ball around and blah, 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 blah. You've heard that podcast from me hundreds of times, right? This was not that. The Celtics shot 40 3-pointers and 40 2-pointers. And you say 40, man, that's a lot of 3-pointers, but they created through their ball movement, 35 assists in this game. They generated good looks all over the floor. The shot distribution is really good. 16 shots in the restricted area, 12 in the paint non-restricted, 12 mid-range, 13 corner 3-pointers, and then 27 above the break 3-pointers. So all of those numbers are pretty close to one another. The above the break, we just have to understand that the Celtics are kind of by nature, by the style, an above the break team. Pick and pop with Porzingis and Horford is always going to lead to an above the break 3. Kick outs, drive and kick. The Celtics drive, kick it to the corner. Yeah, that's going to get you a few 3-pointers, but there's going to be a reaction to the corner, so it's going to be swing, swing, and a lot of times swing, swing leads to an above the break 3. They love their pull-up threes in transition, early offense. So a lot of those will generate more above the break 3-pointers than corner 3-pointers. And generally speaking, they're going to be more above the break 3-pointers anyway, because above the break, there's a lot more area. Corner threes are a very specific, small little slice in the corners. It's the most coveted shot in basketball. But regardless, that's why there's a lot more above the break. But otherwise, 16 restricted, 12 paint non-restricted, 12 mid-range, 13 corner. That's incredible shot distribution that the Celtics got through cutting, driving. Like I said, with the Porzingis, like the space, they took advantage of the space. Was it perfect? No, there's no such thing as a perfect basketball game. But the driving, the attacking, recognizing where the mismatch was, recognizing where the space was, the Celtics did a great job of creating these shots. Are they going to shoot this well? Are they going to shoot this absurd percentage the entire every time they do this? No one shoots 64%. This was, by all accounts, I believe, the most efficient game in NBA history, the most efficient shooting performance in NBA history. They missed, 51 of 80. So that's 29 shots. They were 22 of 40, 55%. They were 19 of 20 from the free throw line. They are the advanced numbers out yet? Yeah, let's see here. The effective field goal percentage was 77.5. That takes into account effective field goal percentage is weighted to add for the extra point that the 3-pointers get. True shooting percentage actually involves your free throws as well. And the true shooting percentage was 80.5%. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Because the Celtics were able to generate a lot of good looks. And when you generate those shots, when you are moving the ball, when you're looking for your teammates, when you trust your teammates, that's going to get you higher than normal shooting percentages in general. That's typically going to be when you have your best shooting nights. And again, shooting like this is an absolute aberration. Absolute aberration. Oh, and they had 36 assists. They changed it after the game. My original box score had 35. Great. So they had 36 assists in this game. They were spectacular. And you go top to bottom. Everybody, no one got more than 15 shots. So to put up this many, and only 80 shots in general, they got to the line 20 times, but 80 shots, that's for a team that played at the pace that the Celtics played at early on. I'm surprised that they only got the 80 shots. Again, some of those free throws, they were shot attempts that got, fouled, so they don't count as field goal attempts. But regardless, it's hard to put up an offensive clinic like this. But with Porzingis leading the way, with good shot attempts from the 3-point shooters and the drives, that was spectacular. I'm impressed. I'm impressed how the Celtics came in and handled their business. And what I was expecting from Miami, they didn't give. Boston just came in and said, we are setting the tone. We are setting the bar pretty high. They came in, aside from the backcourt violation 4 seconds into the game, which I thought at first, I was like, oh no. Is this going to be how this game goes? Is this going to be like a trippy lack of focus thing that's going to happen? And it's like, nope. Forget about that almost immediately. So I was expecting Miami to come in and throw a big haymaker right away. And they didn't, because Boston didn't let them. They played with incredible pace early on. They moved the ball well. They pushed the ball after makes, after misses. They were constantly looking for the kick ahead, the pitch ahead. They were really trying to push the ball. You didn't see them walk the ball up the floor a ton. It was always probe. And that's where advantages are found. You push, you get into the teeth of the defense, you make somebody pick somebody up, you make Tyler Hero pick up somebody, you make one of their lesser defenders pick up somebody's going to get cross-matched, and Boston has a size advantage. And with Rozier, they definitely have a size advantage. So that advantage is across the board. And so whenever you push the ball, you're going to have a mismatch. Let's get into some of the other big performances, because basically everybody had a big performance. I'll talk about each of these guys who played incredibly well when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Grammarly. I can't tell you how many times Grammarly is bailing me out, especially after tonight's game, my game story. I turned on Grammarly when I was done writing, and just red underlines and blue underlines all over the place to let me know, hey, John, you did not write this very well. Let's help you out here. And that's the biggest thing that Grammarly can do. It cleaned up some sentences. It put periods and commas where they were supposed to be, where I didn't have them. It really is kind of a little bit of a cheat code. It's my Kristaps Porzingis to make sure that what I'm writing, the thoughts that are in my head as I'm like slamming down everything, it just helps me get them organized. But you're not using Grammarly exactly like I am, because I'm writing these game stories. Maybe you're using them for reports. Maybe you're using them for emails. Maybe you're using them in some other way. Grammarly can help you do even more, because with one click, you can easily brainstorm, rewrite, reply with suggestions based on your context and goals. So you can improve productivity for you and your teams. They've been using this AI technology for over 10 years. So when you're stuck with writing at work, Grammarly can help you get started with ideas, outlines, and even tips. You can polish your writing like I need it to. It can help paraphrase and rewrite and be more concise. You can set your voice. You can let it know if you want to be more casual, more business-like, all of that stuff. If you need to get through emails quicker, Grammarly can help you summarize your emails and provide suggestions on how to reply in just seconds. So whatever it is, if you got a big presentation coming up, if you need to draft an important email and you kind of don't know where to start, Grammarly can get you jump started with suggestions. And the best part, it's free. It's easy to use. It's free to use. Go to Grammarly.com/podcast to download it for free today. Grammarly, GRAMMARLY.com/podcast. Go ahead. Start being more productive at work. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA, where they're going to be talking about the league as a whole, maybe talking about the new NBA champs, the NBA belt champions, I should say, the Indiana Pacers, who beat the Philadelphia 76ers. Plenty of fun over there at Locked On NBA. I host on Wednesdays with Jake Madison. Go check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Like I said before, the Celtics got a ton of big performances. Jaylen Brown early on, awesome. 18 points. He shot 64%, 4 of 8 from 3. And that was with forcing a couple of shots. One of my favorite things from Jaylen Brown is, okay, he forced a couple. He took a couple of heat checks. But then after that, this is in the third quarter, okay, took a couple of heat checks. And I even wrote in my live blog on, I keep a live blog during games on Boston Sports Journal. And I said, okay, 2 heat checks for Jaylen Brown. I'm done with the heat checks. I need to see him start moving the ball more. And what did he do? He hits Luke Cornett for a couple of alley-oops. And that's part of where the Celtics really blew the game open. I thought the Celtics, they came out with good purpose. In the second quarter, they slipped. The defense kind of fell apart. I thought the defense was mostly good in this game. Second quarter stretch where it wasn't, and the lead got down to 7. But then after that, got pushed up to 13, and with a nice answer in the second quarter. And then in that third quarter, that stretch, especially down the end there, they put this thing away. And Jaylen Brown to Luke Cornett was big. I didn't even mention that Kristaps Porzingis hurt his ankle in this game because it wasn't that big of a deal. I don't know if he's going to miss Saturday's game against the Clippers. He said after the game he felt fine, but the game was over. He could have gone in if they needed him to. We'll see what happens if it feels worse tomorrow. Sprained ankles always feel worse the next day. Getting up on a plane, pressurized cabin, that tends to, if you watch the broadcast, listen to the players talk, listen to Reggie Miller talk. When you get onto the plane, you pressurize that cabin, that ankle is going to swell up because that's kind of what happens. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Maybe he misses 1 or 2 games. Who knows? But it's not that bad. He said after the game he felt okay. But Luke Cornett came in at that stretch and was really, really good. Got himself into spots. Joe Mazzulla said after the game that he recognized how he was being defended. He got into the right spots and he got the ball. Perfect. I thought the rebounding was really good. Before I get into other players, the Miami had 13 second chance points, and a bunch of those were garbage time. Like a few of those were garbage time. So I think it was less than 10 second chance points throughout the first 3+ quarters. It basically boiled down to when Miami made their run, they were hitting a bunch of shots. The defense kind of slipped and they were hitting a bunch of shots. If Miami wasn't hitting shots, they weren't scoring, right? It wasn't like one of those games where they missed 2-3 shots, but they got 2-3 rebounds and then they end up scoring. Boston did a good job of clearing it away and generally limiting them to 1 shot. So either the shot went in or it didn't. And if it didn't, it was Boston ball. That's huge because the way Boston was shooting, the way Boston's offense was clicking, Miami could barely put a run together. So the rebounding I thought was really good and is worth mentioning. Jayson Tatum was the only guy of the regulars who shot below 50%. And if he only hit 1 more shot, he was 7 of 15. If it was 8 of 15, it would have been over 50%. 3 of 7 from 3, 9 of 10 from the line. He's the only guy who missed a free throw. 8 rebounds for him, 4 assists, 26 points overall. Just a nice game from him. Nothing spectacular, nothing crazy, but he, attacked, drew the fouls, did a good job. This is exactly the type of spread out, well-distributed game. Porzingis, I mentioned, he had 19 points, 4 rebounds. He shot 6 of 9. That's it, 6 of 9. 3 of 4 from 3. When he's hitting the 3-pointers like this, it's a wrap. 4 free throws from him. The combination of Drew Holiday and Derek White, this is your starting backcourt because their numbers were extraordinarily similar. 32 combined points, 11 combined rebounds, 11 combined assists, 3 blocks. The Celtics turned the ball over 11 times. Okay, they didn't turn Miami over much, only 4 for Miami. But the backcourt, Holiday he only missed once. 1 shot. 17, 5, and 5 for him. 15, 6, and 6 for Derek White, who shot 50% overall. He had that one stretch where he got 2 offensive rebounds early in the game. Just really, really worked hard to get that put back. He also had that 1 chase down rear view block. That came after Jaylen Brown kind of steal in the backcourt for kind of laying in wait and waiting for a lazy cross court pass, and he just jumped it. It's like the second or third time he's done that this season. So that's going to become his version of the Alvarado. If you don't know what the Alvarado is, it's Jose Alvarado from the New Orleans Pelicans, who kind of hides on the baseline and then runs behind somebody and steals it in the backcourt after the inbounds. So this is kind of Jaylen's version of that. So the starters, every starter played great. Al Horford, low-key, great game. Hauser hit a couple of shots. was pretty good. Peyton Pritchard hit some shots, especially early on along the baseline, some 2-point shots. 11, 3 and 3 for him. Excuse me. Cornette, like I mentioned, 12 points on a perfect 4 plus 4 free throws. He had 5 rebounds. Overall, just top to bottom, great game. Top to bottom, great game. And I'm not turning this into just miss league stuff. They shot well because they moved the ball well. They defended mostly well, I think. Again, bad stretches, but the rebounding was important. I think they did just an overall good job defensively, and they came in with the right attitude. They played with a good purpose. This was a really, really, really good game for them. Miami on the back-to-back struggled. Hey, whatever. Boston wins the season series against Miami. Now has a chance to sweep it in 2-3 weeks when Miami comes to town. So that'll be fun. I will be here. Obviously, I will be there covering it. I'm at every home game. So I will be there this Saturday when the Celtics play the Clippers. I will have a bonus podcast for you after that. So subscribe, open up whatever your favorite podcasting app is. Subscribe there so you get this podcast directly to your device. Subscribe on YouTube, ring the bell, get notified when I drop a new video. Hop into the comments section. Let me know what you think of what I've said. Let me know what you think of Miami Heat fans. Let me know what you think of the game in general. All of that stuff. If you're new, I love you. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're a regular, if you're one of my everydayers here with me Monday through Friday, I really love you. You're the best. So if you're at the arena, come say hi. Section 19 is the media section. Come say hi. Take a picture, whatever you want. We'll chat it up a little bit. Then I would also love you to share the podcast, spread the word, tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here in the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.